Welcome to Hard Talk. I'm Zainab Badawi. Imagine a world where robots can think and feel like humans. Well, one pioneering scientist in this field has advanced the capability of computers to recognize human emotions. My guest today is the American professor ROSALIND PICARD from MIT, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. Could robots fitted with intelligent computers perform tasks like caring for the elderly or fight as soldiers on the battlefield? And what would be the ethical implications of all that? ROSALIND PICARD, welcome to Hard Talk.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
How have you managed to make computers read human emotions?
Computers are now able to see our facial expressions, listen to our vocal changes, and in some cases we can wear them as sensors that can read out our physiological changes.
That's the thing that looks like a sweatband on your wrist, is it?
Well, this is a sweatband, and underneath it is one of several sensors that I'm testing right now.
And so how does it actually work? How do you make a computer recognize whether you are sad, happy, bored even?
Well, the first thing we do is we understand what people feel comfortable communicating in a certain situation. So if you're comfortable having a camera look at you, we'll have it look to see if you're smiling or frowning, raising your brows, looking interested or bored. If you're out running around and there's no camera looking at you, but you want to sense what's going on inside your body, you might wear a sensor.
And what about the computer itself expressing human emotions? Is that possible?
Yes, computers have been able to smile or change their tone of voice for a long time, ranging from Douglas Adams' stories with, Martin the paranoid android talking sadly, to the old Macintosh, that smiled when it booted up properly. Displaying emotion is just putting up a picture that goes with a program, but to actually have mechanisms of emotion, that remains a challenge.
And so when we talk about emotional intelligence that a computer might have, that's basically the area that you are working in.
Yes, we want computers not to have emotions that are annoying or just there for dramatic or entertainment purposes, but that are smart about interacting with us so that they're less frustrating for us to deal with.
But how can you measure whether a computer is doing that, is displaying emotional intelligence? I mean, what's your measurement?
It's funny, I don't know if you remember when Microsoft had the little paperclip software agent, and a lot of people clicked it to go away. They hated how it looked so happy when they were having misfortune, and things weren't working. That was a sign of failure, right? It was smiling at the wrong time, yet it had a lot of intelligence underneath, but not knowing when to smile and when not to smile was something that it lacked. So what we'll see when it succeeds in having emotional intelligence is people will actually want to be around it more. They'll want to interact with it more. And it won't be that the emotion looks like it's there. It will just feel like the interaction is smarter and nicer.
You wrote a very groundbreaking book called Affective Computing, beginning with an A. And you said that if we want computers to be genuinely intelligent and to interact naturally with us, we must give computers the ability to recognize, understand, even to have and express emotions, basically encapsulating what you've just said. Why would you want to do that? The why?
It's maybe a little hard today when you see most robots in the homes are just vacuum cleaners.
You've jumped to robots now, because, I mean, what are you talking about, putting this emotionally intelligent computer inside a machine, a robot that's got limbs that can walk?
I think that's the easiest example for people to comprehend. So suppose you're in your living room and your robot comes in and starts cleaning up, and it's making some noise or it's distracting you in some way. Your natural response might be to scowl at it or glance in its direction. And if it doesn't see that you're irked at what it's doing and stop doing it and maybe apologize and slink off, then you're going to feel irritated at it. And over time, as it keeps ignoring your desires, you're going to want to get rid of it.
Okay, but so we've jumped a stage here now, because you're saying how we respond to this robot that's going around doing your cleaning for you, because you have written about how robots are likely to play a central role in our lives in the future. Are you comfortable with your research contributing to this field?
I think it's vital that we contribute to ways to make our interactions with these machines much smarter. I mean, maybe people are starting to become very familiar with how smartphones are interrupting us, or if you wear glass and it pops up your messages at a time that is kind of insensitive, right? And our natural way to signal to the computer that it needs to do better is to show a negative piece of feedback, a frown or a head shake. And if it reads that and uses that to learn how to do a better job of presenting things at the right time, then we think it's smart.
How quickly do you think we're going to get to this area where robots do, to this stage, where robots do play a central role in lives? I mean, many people in this field say by 2015, this is going to be a $15 billion industry.
Yeah, timing is driven by the people driving the business, the dollars and the marketing and all of that. I'm more on the science side, and the science has progressed enormously, and it goes much faster as we are able to get more people interested in sharing their data, sharing their emotions, turning on their cameras, giving the computer feedback.
So what would you say, within a decade? Because there are people like Dr. Nick Hawes of Birmingham University here in the UK is coordinating a project to test robots with a head and two blinking eyes, because that's easy for human beings to interact with rather than a robot with just a TV screen, as it were, on its head. And he says within a decade, we're going to see humans interacting, robots that can interact with humans.
Yeah, I mean, we've had them in the lab for a while. You can, come by MIT and interact with robots that interact somewhat affectively. Taking them to market and into people's homes requires solving some other issues as well.
So you don't think within a decade we'll see them in people's homes or in institutions?
Yeah, I would hope so. I would hope so. There are certainly we already have some technology online that's out there now running 24/7 that if you opt in and turn on your camera, it can read your facial expressions, and you can then let the maker of a video or an advertisement know if you like what they're showing you, or are offended by it, or confused by it, or just bored by it.
So you say you would hope so, and there are lots of people who share your ambition. I mean, for instance, in the United Kingdom, in Scotland, the chief executive for the National Health Service there, Gordon Jameson for the Western Isles, says he has a project called Giraffe, which is how robots can help with the care of patients who've got dementia. And he says we have high hopes that as a new technology for us, the robot could also potentially be used in many other areas of healthcare. Would you, Professor Piccard, want to see a robot performing the duties of medical personnel, of a nurse, for instance, looking after an elderly person or somebody with dementia?
I don't think we're going to completely replace doctors and nurses, and I think we all still want that human element. That said, there are some places where people are already showing they prefer software agents that are put in a computer body and rolled into the room. For example, it's been shown that when patients are being discharged and they're given a bunch of instructions, they actually prefer to get the instructions from this character on the screen than from a human being.
But, I mean, where would you stop? You say the idea is not to replace doctors and nurses, but, you don't have to pay a robot. And for institutions and every institution, frankly, has to make sure that it balances its books and so on, it's going to be quite attractive, isn't it, for them to replace a large number of their medical personnel, if they can, with robots who don't have to be paid? Yeah,
I think what you'll see is them replacing some of the more rote and boring tasks that just require a lot of patient, dissemination of information. So the software agent will give you the instructions, and then you say, I don't understand, and it can look a little concerned, and it can repeat it with infinite patience, which a nurse who's already late to get to her next patient may not be so patient about.
You can't say for sure, though, can you, that they'll only be used in that restricted way? You can't, can you?
When people are in charge, all kinds of things can happen, right? And people will still be in charge until maybe the robots take over, but I don't see that happening in the next 10 years.
Because a colleague of yours at MIT, Professor Sherry Turkle, who works in human technology interaction, she predicts that companies will soon sell robots designed to babysit children, replace workers in nursing homes, and serve as companions to people with disabilities. And she says this is demeaning and transgressive to our collective sense of humanity.
Yeah, I share some of Sherry's concerns. When you go into a nursing home and they've just handed somebody an artificial animal to purr and keep them happy, that seems pretty insensitive, right? I would not have wanted to leave that with my father, when he was close to death. I wanted to be there with him. at the same time, if somebody chooses to, and you see this with kids who choose to comfort themselves stroking their pet giraffe, their stuffed animal, and that's very soothing, and if it kind of wiggles and cozies up to them in a comforting way because it's sensing that they're stressed, there's a sweet spot for something there that can augment what we can do as humans.
But as she says, the idea of artificial companionship could become our new normal, and she's frankly alarmed by that possibility.
I mean, I think if you are trying to replace all of us with artificial stuff, that I don't see happening, certainly not in the next decade. And I remember years ago when my friend and colleague Marvin Minsky, one of the founders of AI, said, computers are going to be so smart that someday we'll be lucky if they keep us around as household pets. And I was very bothered by that, and I thought, I don't want to make that kind of computer, right, that keeps us around as a household pet. If we make that, then we maybe deserve to be demeaned by that which we've created. So we have choices as technology creators, and my choice is to make technology that enables us to expand our compassion and emotional intelligence.
But I mean, that is a real worry, that computers and robots could become superior to humans, isn't it? I mean, it's not just the stuff of science fiction, is it?
It is the stuff of science fiction. It is a choice that we make.
You think it's the stuff of science fiction? You don't think it's possible that they could become smarter, superior?
Well,